All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Manhattan Community Board 3's public hearing on our budget priorities for fiscal year 25. At this time, what?
That was my mistake. It's 24.
It is 24? That's what I thought. So, okay, fiscal year 24, which begins next fiscal year. I'm going to introduce now the committee chairs who will be making up the committee for tonight. I will start. The first person I see on my left is Trevor Holland, who can introduce himself.
Hi, Trevor Holland. I'm the chair of Parks and Waterfront for Community Board 3.
Maylee.
Hi, my name is Maylee, and I am the chair of the Health, Seniors, Human Services, Youth, Education, and Human Rights Committee.
Thank you, May. David Gray.
Hi, I'm David Crane. I'm the chair of the Transportation, Public Safety, Sanitation, and the Environment. That may not be the right order.
You got it. Thank you, David. Anisha Stephen. I think she's having some technical difficulties. Anisha Stephen is our land use chair. Thank you all for coming on tonight. I'm going to turn it over now to our district manager, Susan Stetzer, for a few words. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before Paul starts calling on people and lets people know how to be called on, I'm going to give a very brief explanation of the budget as from the community board perspective. So community boards are mandated by city charter to vote on budget priorities for the district. There are now different types of requests for budget priorities coming to the community, so it can be confusing. You may have heard about participatory budgeting. This is very different. For participatory budgeting, a council member or a mayor will have a pot of money and ask how it should be spent. What community boards do is rank budget priorities for agency spending from that agency's budget. The goal is to bring more money into our community for needs that we think are more important to our community. There are two kinds of priorities, capital and expense. Capital are for large, longer-term items, such as a park reconstruction or a new school, renovating a library or another public building. Expense items are programs, such as summer youth employment or an after-school program, or salaries such as parks maintenance staff or funding for senior meals in a senior center. Service delivery issues are not generally budget priorities. The charter mandates that the community board office deal with service delivery items, such as parks not being cleaned or lights out on a street or in a park. Investigation may find that funding issues contribute to the problem. The budget priorities we're discussing now are for fiscal year 24, as Paul said, which will start next July. So we're not talking about money for the current year. We can have up to 40 capital and 25 expense priorities. And since the goal is to bring more money into the district, we're not voting on priorities because they're necessary or because they're popular. If they're already funded, we want to vote for priorities that need more funding. You'll see that there are Community Board 3 members here tonight as attendees, and they're actually advocating for themselves as residents or for their organizations. They're not here as community board members. And I got from 3 or 4 people, I got questions ahead of the meeting, and they're the same questions from everybody. So I thought I'll answer those questions, which I hope will clarify issues before I give it back to Paul. The first question several people asked was about DOT Open Streets proposal for Avenue B and questions about that. So this is not a budget priority. Open streets are already funded and they don't come to the community board for approval. I think this was a city council, Department of Transportation initiative. The community board never approved it one way or another. There were more questions about losing access to usable streets for deliveries. about making noise at night, although the street is actually closed at night, and saying surrounding buildings are adamantly opposed to the proposal. And again, this is not a budget priority, and it's not going to be at Community Board 3. You should let your city council person know how you feel about the open streets. And then the last question was, can assets for DOT Plaza be redirected to improvements for maintenance and operation of Tompkins Square Park? And the answer is no. Parks and DOT are two totally different agencies with different budgets. You need to request funding for better maintenance by asking for funding for more parks maintenance workers. And again, if you're opposed to open street, you should let your council person know. And Paul, I'm going to give it back to you. And I know people want to know how to get called on.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Susan. So the way we will do this tonight, I only see 20 attendees on the list. So originally there were more people signed up. So what I'm going to do, you can use the raised hand feature on your Zoom, and I will call on you and allow you to speak as an attendee. You will have 2 minutes to speak. All right. And then after that, I will go to the next person. You only have those 2 minutes to speak. I appreciate everybody coming on tonight. Once everybody is done speaking, I will close the public hearing tonight. All right. So thank you, everyone. I will, once again, if you're a community board member, you are representing yourself or the agency or group that you are representing. I will also ask everyone in the chat to please sign in for attendance purposes with your name and affiliation. Thank you. All right. So the first two hands I see are Linda Jones and then Kay Webster. I will start with Linda Jones. Give me 1 second to put up the clock. I will share my screen. You will have 2 minutes. All right, Linda, good to hear from you. Go right ahead.
Hi, Paul. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Yes, so I'm here to represent Seward Park Conservancy. I can easily do this in 2 minutes. We have 3 budget priorities, and I will speak of them in order of priority. Number 1 is restoration of the ship fountain. And number 2 is replacement or repair or something to improve the playgrounds. I would say replacement of the playgrounds because they're quite old and shabby and kind of out of date. And the third item has to do with the central spray fountain, which some of you know is a mosaic, a beautiful mosaic design, but it's not in very good condition. I'm not sure what parks will want to do with it, and I'm not telling them what to do with it, but I think it needs attention, perhaps replacement. In the area of expenses, I bet it's just the same as what every other person coming in from a park is. We have not got enough maintenance, we have not got enough cleaning, and we have not got enough policing. So we have some homeless issues, some drug uses, and those are not getting much attention. And thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Linda. All right. So the next person I have is Kay Webster.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I am speaking on behalf of the Sarah Roosevelt Park Community Coalition. We are asking for budget for the Stanton Building's interior renovation. It's going on 30 years of a promise to return it to the building, and they said they're still actively going to do that. Also, below from Delancey to Grand, a particularly tough part of the park that's had a lot of gun shooting of lately. We want to see the Grand Street opening made visible and accessible. We want to see the Delancey Street one renovated as an entryway for wheelchair accessibility and redo the plaza. And the Waimea Bird Sanctuary needs a new wrought iron fence surrounding it for safety. They are not safe there. That's where the drug dealing goes on. And the 3 front gardens have no water source. So we'd like to see a Bruckner box put in. And there's the pit we'd like to see remain as is, but repaired, and the drain repaired. We'd like to see a lot of other things there so that it continues to be one of the most and the only activated space in that area, which is the only way we make the park safe. And we have a petition for that, and we have, talked to parks for a long time. Anyway, and the same issues that Linda mentioned about short staffing, garbage collection. It's not exactly relevant here, but services for homeless folks. And this park is in big trouble. That's all. Thank you. I'm done, Paul. If you want.
I got you. I'm sorry. I got to unmute myself too. Thank you, Kay. I appreciate it. All right. So I see 3 more hands. I'm going to start with Kenyel Hernandez.
Hi, Kenya Hernandez. Today representing my organization, the Lower East Side Foundry, and our Community Healing Initiative, which focuses on quality of life and actually looking at how to heal the community. We're going to hear a lot of issues about the homeless, the drug activity, the drug user, the drug dealers, but we have to think of programs to make these things work or to send them to. We don't have that right now. So we need more public safety and more programs and more meetings at how to go about this and actual solutions. That's it. I'm done. That was quick.
Okay. Thank you, Kenya. All right, I see 3 more hands, excuse me. I'm going to start with Josh Dean. Josh Dean. All right, Josh, you have 2 minutes.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And thanks all for taking the time and for inviting me out tonight. I'm speaking on behalf of an organization called the Over Under Initiative. We are a nonprofit dedicated to sports equity. And following up on what Kay Webster spoke about with regards to the pit, which is the blacktop area lodged between Delancey Street, Broome Street, Forsyth Street, and Christie Street. So we understand there's a proposal to potentially bury the pit and turn it into a turf space. We are opposed to that and believe that space should remain concrete, as concrete is the most dynamic surface for sports. Couple opportunities to improve the pit would be around unclogging and repairing the drainage, adding a ceramic mural to the walls, installing a retractable goal system that allows for the community to play soccer, hockey, or bike polo, returning the benches to the southern end, and then potentially adding additional lighting to allow for play at night and to ensure that everyone's safe. That's all. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Josh Dean. All right. Next person I have on my list is Franklin Douglas. Franklin Douglas, you have 2 minutes. You may want to take yourself off mute, Franklin. Go ahead, Franklin.
I'm going to go to the next person and then go back to him.
Yeah, Franklin, you may want to check your mic or something like that. I will come back to you. You can come back and sign back on, but we cannot hear you. Okay, the next person I see is Sue Lashley. Sue Lashley, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm Sue Lashley. I live on 10th Street right across from Tompkins Square Park, and I just represent myself, but many of my neighbors feel the same way. I think we need to increase the maintenance for Tompkins Square Park in terms of staff. We definitely need to at least double the number of rat-proof trash cans in and around the park. And we're also concerned that the number of trees that have been cut down over the last few years and not replaced. And so we'd like to see some kind of budget or process where that could be enabled and not take so long. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let me go back and see hands. Eli Ferrari, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm just representing myself and just want to suggest that money be allocated to help rebuild the Allen Street malls. So the Allen Street malls are the park-like space in the middle of Allen Street. And some of those segments have been rebuilt years ago. And the rebuilt sections are very nice. There's nice landscaping, seating, and good sidewalk. But a lot of the sections have not been rebuilt, and they're very decrepit with a lot of tripping hazards, and the landscaping's kind of become pretty bad, poor shape. So I think some money should be set aside to continue the work I believe the Parks Department did in rebuilding the Allen Street malls, at least somewhere between Houston and I believe East Broadway. So thank you.
All right, thank you. The next person I see is Brooke Moreland. Brooke Moreland?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hi there. I just represent myself, and I think I speak for a lot of the parents who live around Tompkins Square Park. A lot of our children play there every day. I live on East 6th Street, right by the park. And I echo something Sue said earlier about needing more cleaning of the park, particularly the playground. I really think it could be cleaned a lot, especially the sandbox is very filthy. There's clogs that make flooding and kind of still water that small children play in, and it's kind of disgusting. So expenses around that, and also potentially a capital project around improving the playground. Also a capital project around improving the bathrooms. The doors don't shut, they're gross. They're just kind of filthy. Also expensive having people clean them every day. And there are also a lot of drug users using them, living in there, and it makes it very hard to use the restrooms and take our children to use the restrooms. So I think there's just a laundry list of things that could be done for Tompkins Square Park, and I think it needs a lot of love, and it's a very well-used park. That's all.
Okay, thank you. The next hand I see is Mehmet T. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, this is Mehmet. How are you?
Good, how are you? Go right ahead.
Good. I'm speaking on behalf of Tompkins Square residents and mirroring the last two that just spoke, that we need additional garbage cans in Tompkins Square Park desperately. There is not enough to capture the volume that we are currently having. In addition, there needs to be much more security. The park used to be locked at 11 o'clock at night, and it's no longer happening, and it needs to be reinstated. We have a bunch of derelicts and drug users that are there consistently. We just had a cleanup this past Sunday and literally cleaned up 100 needles that were both close to both sections where children are playing in the park. And we desperately need additional attention, especially for the volume of people that are abusing our park. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next two hands I see are Andrea Holm.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hi, I'm representing myself. I live on Tompkins Park as well, and I heartily endorse what people are saying about improvements to the park. I also want to say that I've become aware of plans for a pedestrian plaza on Avenue B between 8th and 9th, and I would like to object to that. It would cause a lot of inconvenience for people in my building, which is on that block. And in addition to that, it's kind of annoying because we've got this wonderful community resource in the park, and to add sort of an open plaza where people can sort of camp out and make noise in the night would be, not to mention blocking traffic and emergency vehicles, would be very annoying. I'd rather they just spent the money to improve the park. That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Paul, can I make a remark on that? We're not aware at this time of a project to make that a plaza, but if it does, you should watch the Transportation Committee agenda. It's not a budget item, so we can't deal with it here, but if they do want it to be a plaza, it will have to come to the Transportation Committee for a vote, so you should watch to come and speak at that time.
Thank you very much.
The next hand I see is John Cardoni. Am I saying that correctly?
You hear me now?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm representing myself and my wife. We live on Avenue B right across from Tompkins Square Park, and I would like to reiterate what a couple people have already said and what terrible condition the park is in. It seems the maintenance staff needs to be at least doubled, I'd say. I mean, the paths are in terrible condition. There's a good number of lights that aren't working in the park. None of the lights around the Temperance Fountain work. The fences are broken. Most of the lawns are used for dog runs. So we've got a beautiful dog run in our park, one of the largest ones in the city, I think. And you know, every other lawn seems to now be used as dog runs because none of the gates are locked. Fences are broken. Inappropriately sized fence has been put up around the new playground that they built on 7th Street and Avenue B, so that everyone just walks in there with their dog. So the park really needs some maintenance. It's real, you know, people are camping in the park. People have mentioned the security in the park is terrible. It doesn't get locked at night. And of course, the rat population is out of control. So I'd really like to see, you know, I remember Tompkins Square Park when it was just a cardboard village and basically the residents in the neighborhood couldn't use it. And it's kind of headed in that direction again, where it's a beautiful park, or it could be a beautiful park if it's just maintained, and it's not being maintained, and it's really gone downhill. That's all.
Okay, if I could again mention, some of the things you talked about are not budget items, but they are service delivery items. And if you can email the office, if you tell us where the lights are out, where the fencing is broken, and where dogs are being walked, that's an enforcement issue. We can start working on that right away. And
what's the email? What's the email?
I'm trying to remember. You can email us straight. Well, first of all, if you go on the website, there is a make a complaint form, but I will also give you my personal email. It's sstetzer, SSTETZER at cb.nyc.gov. As far as the fencing around the playground, the community board and the former council person bitterly complained about the low height of the fence, but we weren't listened to.
Yeah, and I've called, I don't know, can you still hear me? But I've called 311 about the lighting issues, and I've called them a half a dozen times, and it's never.
You can let the community board know, please.
I will.
What, and can you confirm her email?
Can I confirm that email with you? I think I got it.
SSTETZER at cb.nyc.gov. It's also, you can go, it's all on our website also.
Okay. All right, that's great. Thank you. I will definitely send an email, but yeah, the park is really in sad shape, and it really needs help before it totally deteriorates.
I did put the email in the chat if that is helpful.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna try Franklin Douglas one more time.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go, Franklin. Go right
Okay,
ahead.
great. Hi, I'm a member of a group of parents called the Tompkins Square Park Kids, and our kids play in Tompkins Square Parks. So what I'd like to focus on is the state of the bathrooms. I understand that there's significant support in the community for allowing everyone to use the park. So that means that mental patients, drug addicts, and homeless people are living in the park. I understand that there's significant support for that, but the problem is the bathrooms are in terrible shape. There was an article recently in Gotham, New York City that said they were the worst bathrooms in the country. And I think that's probably true. They're not cleaned, they're a wreck, there are people living in there, and they need to be renovated, and they need to also be cleaned 3 times a day because people are using them. It's a matter of compassion for the people who are ill and living in the park. It's a matter of a high priority for the parents who use the park with their kids. Kids are traumatized by using those bathrooms, and not to mention the parents are traumatized by using those bathrooms. So if in fact you want people to be able to use the park, you have to make the bathrooms safe and accessible. That's what I want to say. And that requires renovation, but it also requires staffing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do not see any more hands up.
Nope.
All right. That being said, I'm going to stop my share. Oh, there is one under the gun. July, did you just raise your hand? Am I saying that? July? Did I see you raise your hand?
Hi, Paul. Yes, I did.
Go ahead,
I
July.
hope you can hear me okay. Yes, I want to speak, echo several, members, the issue that several members have already brought up, which is the state of our public spaces. And particularly because I live, on Delancey, I want to talk about the Allen Street Mall, especially the block between the stretch between Grand Street and Rivington Street. So that's a 3-block stretch. They're just constantly, the benches are just constantly being occupied by the homeless population. I've seen it in the past 1.5 to 2 years, pretty much since the pandemic. And, I'm just thinking that takes away from others who may have needed to utilize the space. And that's becoming more pressing, especially now we don't have access to the East River Park. Just want to advocate for more programs or resources be created for the homeless population, and so that they can receive the services they need, but also we can get our public space returned and better maintained as well. So that is what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, July. All right, I do not see any other hands raised. So that means I will now officially stop my share. Okay. All right. That being said, this public hearing has been recorded, is being recorded. We will use this information for our budget priorities, which will be on the specific committees you've heard here listed tonight in October's meetings, not September's, but October's meetings. So I thank everyone who has attended tonight, community board members, community board chairs, committee chairs. So I thank everyone for coming on tonight, and I wish everyone a good evening. Thank you.